Complex has done it again. This time, they've given us a list of this year's 2025 Hip Hop Media Power Rankings. And I got to be honest with you, the list is trash. I'm not one of those people who don't think the contribution of streamers in the hip hop ecosystem doesn't matter, because it does. But I got a problem with how we're defining hip hop media in 2025. I'm just keeping it a buck with y'all. We don't really know what it is. This list is not really about media anymore. It's about catching moments. It's about trying to be relevant. It's trying to go viral. This week, I'm going to break down how I feel about Complex's hip hop media power ranking.
The STEM Society.
Welcome back to the STEM Society. My name is Carl Jackson. This is episode 113. We are live. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode. What is hip hop media to you? When I say hip hop media, how do you feel? What do you think of? What's the first thing that pops into your head? For me, it's always news, it's album reviews, it's reactions and breakdowns. It's voices of people who give perspective and not just personality. I think this complex list is more about getting moments or going viral than it is trying to look at the consistency of people putting out their work. I'm a content creator trying to maneuver this space. And to be honest with you, when I look at these lists, it gives me no hope. It makes me feel like I got to sit around here and get in a monkey suit and dance around, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to make it onto this list. I've been on this journey for 9 years now. I've been podcasting since 2015. I've been doing all this shit, man. And to look at this list and to see how it's so fucked up really pisses me off. So today on this week's episode, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into this list, understanding the criteria, understanding the people who got kicked off, understanding who got it added on, and try to figure out what really is hip hop media these days. I was always under the impression that you couldn't have a list without criteria. When they started this list back in 2023, they had clear-cut criteria. It was 5 things on the list that you had to have. It was commentary and banter. It was star power of guests. It was consistency. It was viral moments. It was integrity of content. When I look at those 5 things, I understand that they want this specific thing. This is why this person is on this list, because they met that criteria these days. Now, when I look at the criteria in 2025, it's completely different. The only thing that this criteria is telling me is cultural influence, the ability to move conversations and dominate headlines. So to me, you're saying we want to go viral. Who can hijack the timeline for 24 hours? And if that's the case, instead of giving us this whole word salad of bullshit, just say that. Who can hijack the timeline for the longest amount of time? Who can make viral shit? Because at the end of the day, and this is just my personal opinion, y'all are moving the goalpost. You change the rules so you can be able to slide certain people in here. And I don't want to say streamers, because that means I'm singling them out. But there's some people on this list that I don't really understand why they're on here. They don't move the needle. They don't necessarily do anything as far as like reviewing albums. They just sit up here and they vibe with artists. And if that's a part of hip hop media, then we are in a fucked up place right now. I understand that things evolve. We all evolve. Hip hop has evolved. Things change. But let's not act like y'all changed the criteria because of the evolution of hip hop. Y'all changed the criteria because y'all wanted y'all list to look relevant and not old and terrible. Let's move into who got kicked off the list. Let's move into why some of these relevant figures is not on the list anymore, even though they're doing consistent content about hip hop. Let's take Sway Calloway, for example. Last year, he was number 22. Now he ain't even on the list. They kicked him off real fast. And I understand maybe some of his content has probably shifted over to more of the Essence Fest type of crowd. But at the end of the day, he still has freestyles. He still has Sway in the Morning. He still has been somebody who's been doing this for decades. He is a legend to a lot of us. We still go to him for a lot of great interviews. But now Complex decided just completely kick him off the list. Super disrespectful to me. And it's a red flag. How can you take somebody like a legend like Sway Calloway and completely kick him off the list? He don't earn number 25 at least? I just feel like they're moving the goalpost to be able to get people into this list and not thinking about the relevance of what people bring to the table. Another personality that they choose to accept, and now he ain't even on the list no more, Adam 22. Now, I understand Adam 22 has been very messy this year. In-house beefs, heat from the feds, platform chaos. But let's not pretend like he still doesn't have relevant interviews. And let's not pretend that he doesn't continue to do things on his platform that mirrors hip hop. As much as I don't like it, he still has a crowd. He still has a ton of viewers. He still has a ton of subscribers, and he's getting it done. And he still gets a cosign from Vlad, who is the number 6 person on this list. Y'all kept him on the list even though you knew how messy it was and you knew the type of stuff he was doing back then. So now he ain't relevant enough to stay on your power rankings anymore. They just had a whole Super Friends meeting not too long ago with him, Trap Lord Ross, Vlad, academics. He's still considered one of the top people in hip hop media. And now he ain't even on your list anymore. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. One of the most surprising people who got kicked off of this power rankings list was Gabe P from On the Radar. He had one of the best up and coming platforms last year. And now he's not even able to get on the power rankings anymore. He still has 1.46 subscribers. He has several freestyles that's done over 1 million views. He's gotten major cosigns from artists as well. He was one of the biggest up and coming platforms of 2024. And now he's nowhere to be found. Doesn't that seem weird to you that he's here today, gone tomorrow, but his numbers are still up? It's just one of those things where I just feel like they are most definitely trying to look at being relevant still instead of taking the time out to say these people contribute, they deserve to be here. Even if Gabe P would have stayed at number 25, it still would have made a lot more sense than them just completely kicking him off. I want to see platforms or people on this list that are actually doing more than just sitting down and just vibing with an artist. When do we get information? When do we get understanding about what they're doing on the album? When do we get some kind of relevant conversation from these personalities that they have on this list? Which leads me to some of the more questionable additions on this list. These are some people who I have no idea why they're on here, but they count as hip hop media. So let's start with Shannon Sharp. I respect Shannon Sharp. I respect what he's done in the podcast space, with Nightcap, with Club Shay Shay. I enjoy a lot of the interviews he's done with comedians and sports personalities, those types of people. But I haven't sat up here and just seen a hip hop interview he's done that's had the timeline in a chokehold. I haven't watched something that I was like, Shannon Sharp asked some really great questions to this hip hop artist about the new album that is going to be dropping, or like he's never really moved the needle when it came to hip hop. When it came to sports stuff, when it came to the Cat Williams interview, yes. But this 2 Chainz interview he did here recently wasn't anything out of the norm. It wasn't anything out of the blue. It wasn't super spectacular. It was something that was there, and I think it was par for the course. He gonna take whoever he can take, especially now when he was in the middle of a lawsuit. So I'm not gonna sit up here and be like, that Club Shay Shay interview with 2 Chainz, man, that just completely blew everything out of the water. I just find it super suspicious that he's on a hip hop power rankings list, but that's just me. So this is another surprising addition to me as well. The Joe and Jada show, only 24 episodes, and they already got number 15 on the list. I'll tell you that again so you won't think I'm tripping. They have 24 episodes and they're number 15 on a top 25 power ranking. I don't think that makes any sense. I understand the viral moment that they had with Jim Jones. Jim Jones said what he said about Nas. It went viral. They also had the Joe Button Seats viral moment. But what else have they done? The Nelly interview, did that have everybody in the chokehold? I think they sat down with the clips, if I'm not mistaken, which I think was a pretty decent interview. But they're only 24 episodes deep, and y'all are already putting them at number 15. Now, you understand they made the criteria themselves of saying these are the people who are on this power ranking are people who are moving the needle, who are making moments out here. And I don't think Joe and Jada's had that many moments. But okay, if that's what you think, that's fine. I think a new podcast with no huge cosign like that doesn't have a lot of proof or merit to it. But it's Joe and Jada, so I guess they deserve to have the number 15 spot. So another personality that has me really shaking my head is the Elliott Wilson situation. Now, last year, Elliott Wilson was number 5 on the list, and he didn't do nearly as much as he did this year. Currently, Elliott Wilson holds the number 17 spot. But that has me really confused because this year he has The Big Picture, which is a very relevant hip hop show with Jeremy Height and DJ Head. And he also has the Elliott Wilson Experience where he's giving exclusive interviews. So him starting 2 new platforms and actually doing stuff that actually talk more about hip hop made him go down on the list. Pause if I need to. Make it make sense. He got bumped down from doing more. How is that fair? How does that make sense to me? Or how does that make sense to you? How is it that you can do those things and you don't keep your standing? I would feel a whole lot better if he stayed at number 5 or if he got bumped down to number 6. But y'all moved this man all the way down to 17 and he created 2 new things. One of the biggest disappointments on this list is Arshawn Jaweed. Now, he is the founder of Kids Take Over and he has one of my favorite new platforms where he actually interviews up-and-coming underground artists. This is where I find out a lot about some new artists that I've never heard of before. I went straight to Kids Take Over when I wanted to learn more about Jim Legacy because he had a Jim Legacy interview. I wish I could have got that interview, by the way. But that is one of the best, that's one of the best up-and-coming platforms out right now. And I think he only got moved up 1 space to 23. And again, that's just showing us that, like, they're not really paying attention to what's happening in hip hop culture. They're just picking people that are going viral on some bullshit and not really understanding how important a lot of these platforms is. Kids Take Over to me is an amazing platform. It is an amazing YouTube channel. I love Arshawn Jaweed just for the fact that he reminds me a lot of me when I started BYNK Radio and I was trying to get up-and-coming artists an interview, digital spins, all of this stuff. It just reminds me of like how hungry I was and still am when it comes to independent artists and underground artists and giving them somewhere to speak. And for him to be at number 23 on this list, it just feels like they're just not paying attention to what's going on in the culture anymore. The reason I picked these specific people and where they're ranked is because I feel like, one, Elliott Wilson and Arshawn Jaweed have very important platforms that give people a voice, and they're actually talking about hip hop. But then you put somebody like Shannon Sharpe in the mix, it really looks like you're going for clout. You're looking for somebody to try to say, Complex gave me this award. I'm here on Complex. They understand how big Shannon Sharpe audience is, and they most definitely want to have their name in Shannon Sharpe's on Shannon Sharpe's show on Nightcap or Club Shay Shay or whatever, and they can just have him post something in the background that says Complex was here. The rhyme and reason behind a lot of this stuff makes no sense. And I think some of the people who are ranked as low as they were need to be ranked higher because they're actually putting in the work for hip hop. And the people who are ranked as high as they were should be put down a little bit lower because Shannon Sharpe don't give a damn about hip hop. That nigga gives a damn about numbers and getting paid. It's nothing there that makes me want to say, oh man, like Shannon Sharpe is really here for the culture. Man, he don't give a damn. He trying to get the biggest deals out here. So let's get into people who weren't put on this list and I feel like should be on here because they're putting in the work and they're consistent in what they talk about. One of my favorite people I like watching on a regular basis is Wayno. Now Wayno's YouTube is right now at about 45K and his following on Instagram is 176K. So, he has a bit of a following here. It's not the biggest in the world. It's not in the millions, but he's growing. But he gives us stuff like You Will Be Judged when he listens to artist music and critiques it. He gives us content daily. Like he is somebody who's very much rooted in music. He's somebody who has a very strong opinion and he stands on business on a regular basis. He's putting in the work. I feel like they should have found a place to put Wayno on this list somewhere. Another person who should have been on this list was Rob Markman. He has 42K subscribers and he has 87K in followers on Instagram. Now, Rob Markman is pretty cool. I've seen him on Rap Life review on Apple. He's also given us a lot of great insight on albums. He's also broke down verses for us. He was one of the people that I love listening to when it came to breaking down stuff from the Kendrick and Drake beef. Like he gives us some real in-depth stuff and he's precise in what he's doing. I also love the fact that he uses his love for comic books and when he's talking about music as well. Like he kind of integrates a lot of this stuff perfectly, and I love that. He gives us content on a regular basis as well. Now, I don't know if you guys feel like he moves the needle or not, but when it comes to the kind of content that I like, or it comes to the kind of content that I want to hear broken down, Rob Markman is one of those voices where he's not superly loud or anything like that, but God, man, he's so in-depth and he's so precise when he gives us his breakdown of things. So I think they missed the mark by being able to get him on this list. At least give him honorable mention or something, man. These people are sitting up here putting out great hip-hop content, and you guys are completely missing the mark by not having them on there. How can you guys have a media power ranking list without Curtis King? Now, his YouTube has 335K subscribers, and he's got over 100K on Instagram. I'll be honest with you, not one of my personal favorite people, but he is a voice in the culture. He is somebody who consistently gives us a lot of breakdowns, and he gives us a very strong opinion about things. But he had a must-see interview with Punch from TDE post-beef. 3-hour long interview, gave us a lot of gems from what happened, gave us a lot of insight from the beef, and he just ain't even touching the list. You get what I'm saying? Like, those are the kind of people who are putting in the work, and I feel like deserve a spot on this power rankings list that you guys keep talking about. But again, maybe their following is not big enough, or maybe they don't have the cultural moments that you guys don't feel like you guys don't deem relevant. It's just one of those things where it's like either you guys fuck with hip hop and how people put out hip hop content, or you don't. And a lot of this shit really feels like y'all are just looking for content creators who are going to give you clout yet again. And I'm not blaming those content creators at all. One of the people that I seen on this list was Plattboy Max. I think Plattboy Max is one of those people that deserve to be on here because at least he's making songs and making music with a lot of these artists, and you get a lot more in-depth conversation when it comes to his streams. Like, I love the fact that he does those things, and he releases the music to the public. All of those things feel very relevant, and it feels like he deserves to be here. But again, there's a lot of people on here that you guys put on this list because it just seemed like it was the cool thing to do. And that's the part of it that I just don't like and I don't understand. Which leads me to who's number one. Kai Cenat is the number one person on this power rankings list, and I have no idea why. Before I get into that and how I feel about it, let me just give Kai his flowers. I love Kai. I think he's funny. He's energetic. His streams are entertaining as hell. I love watching this stuff. I love when he has those themed streams, and I love the fact that he does those 48-hour-a-week streams and stuff like that. I love all of that stuff. He's very much in the ecosystem. But number one in hip-hop media, you bugging. That's crazy. When I think about media power, I think about somebody who pushes the conversation forward, somebody who breaks news, somebody who shapes narratives, somebody who can actually move or shift the way album sales go. I haven't seen Kai Cenat boost anybody's sales. And if you guys go to that fucking Playboy Cardi shit, that phone call, you're bugging. That didn't move anything. Playboy Cardi was going to do those numbers regardless. So let's not sit up here and act like he moved the needle when it came to Playboy Cardi's album being sold, because that wasn't the case. And I understand Kai Cenat has popped up in a lot of different places. He was at the Grammys, where we typically boycott them because usually they don't get the hip hop shit right. He was at the BET Awards, which we barely respect because they don't ever understand what's going on. They just nominate people for the look. And yeah, he made a Time magazine cover as well, which I have no idea who has the Time magazine on their coffee table at this point. Do people even have coffee tables anymore? I understand that you guys put those credits in there just to say, hey, this is how we're going to validate him being the number one person in the power ranking. But I really feel like it was a chance for you guys to say, hey, Gen Z, come over here. We're not like old. We're not irrelevant. Complex is with it. We understand you. We get it. Kai is the most powerful voice in hip hop media. And we know that you guys move the needle as well, which is bullshit because Gen Z don't buy albums. They stream a lot of shit, but they don't give a fuck about buying albums anymore. People like me move the needle because I buy albums. I'm a person who makes sure that I take my income and I buy stuff. If I really want to invest in music, I invest in music. So that gives me the reason to watch people like DJ Head or Elliott Wilson or Gino Views or people like Rob Markman or Wayno. Like, those people actually give me better insight into the news, into these spaces, and I fuck with them on the real, because that helps me with some of the decisions that I made, on top of just what I read and how I give the news out and how I'm trying to be a part of this space. So putting Kai Cenat at number one, it just feels wrong.
I gotta say that doesn't even make sense. Look, somebody said Kai's the worst music critic. No lie, I'm not a music critic though. It don't make any sense, bro. I'm not. You're putting that on me. That's like me saying like.
Hold on, but did you grow up watching hip hop? I mean, listening to hip hop?
No, I grew up on Michael Jackson all the way up until like freshman year of high school.
How long ago? How many years is that?
A lot of years.
Last year was DJ Academics, and I had a problem with Academics too, but not because of him not being a part of the culture, just because he exploits the culture for his own personal gain. He's number two, and you guys put Joe Budden, the $20 million man, at number three. Academics is not really far removed from music. He still talks about stuff. He's just a big stan about Drake. And how about Joe Budden, the $20 million man, who I don't even know if that's still a music podcast anymore. They're trying to even eliminate sleepers. And I get it. Joe has moved beyond the typical music podcast. He's more of a culture podcast. He's more of talking about the culture. But at the end of the day, I would like to have a little bit of hip hop stirred into all the other, gender war stuff that they put together. A lot of the back and forth. I mean, they still talk about music. The breakdowns aren't as good as they used to be, and a lot of it really ends up being about Drake. So I don't know. Maybe I'm out of the loop of what it is to be hip hop media. But at the end of the day, it's all subjective, I guess. At the end of the day, maybe I have no reason to be upset, and maybe Kai Cenat is the most powerful media voice in hip hop. Who knows? When I think about the whole thing in general, I just hate that we're confusing popularity with cultural power. If you're going to crown somebody to be number one on something on a list like this, it should be way more bigger than people having views or being on the cover of Time magazine. It should be people who are actually moving the culture forward. That's my biggest gripe about it. Again, I'm a person who's trying to maneuver in this space. I'm a person who makes content. I have a YouTube channel. I talk about hip hop news on a regular basis. I am a part of hip hop media, even though I'm low on the totem pole. But at the end of the day, if I feel like I got to jump in a monkey suit and dance around to be able to get power in hip hop media, I don't want it. I moved from the US to the UK for the simple fact that I feel like they respect this platform or platforms like this more than what the people in America do. I want to be taken seriously as a content creator and a podcaster and somebody who loves the hip hop media side of things. But when you put somebody like Kai Cenat at number one, that just gives me no hope at all, because the time and effort I put into this show or listening to music or my playlist or things of that nature, it just takes away, like seeing somebody like Kai Cenat who doesn't even care about interviews or understand who Wale is or any of that stuff. He said it himself. He's not a hip hop critic at all. He's just a guy with an opinion. And that's who you choose to be number one on your list. It's just disappointing to see a media space like Complex go that route. I just want a little bit more consistency when we're talking about hip hop media. I want us to really get a better understanding of what hip hop media is. And again, this is no hate towards the streamers. I think the streamers are needed. I think the streamers are a part of the ecosystem, and they're a valuable part of the ecosystem. But if you're going to put a streamer at number one, make sure it's somebody who wants to give us interviews and talk more about albums and actually know what they're talking about, instead of somebody who sits around, plays PlayStation and plays Batman and plays games all day and not really dig deep into the culture. So that's it. That's all I got for y'all this week, man. Thank you for rocking with me. I'm glad you guys came back to support me. I'm going to catch you guys on Wednesday when I sit down to talk about Freddie Gibbs' new album, Alfredo 2, and I'll probably have a second review on that next video. Take care of yourselves. I love you guys, and there's a conversation to be had in the comments. Whatever you have to say, leave it down below. Peace out.
Thank you for joining the STEM Society.